If this massacre happened in Europe, the world would shut down. If it happened in the Middle East, hashtags would trend for weeks. But it happened in Nigeria, and the victims were Muslims, so many people moved on. Let me ask you something. At what point does silence become complicity? I want to speak today not as a Muslim, not as a Christian, but as a human being and a truth teller. Because something terrible happened in Nigeria, and the world is pretending not to notice. In Kwara State, 2 villages were attacked, dozens of people were shot, killed, wiped out. According to officials, these were local Muslims who refused to surrender to extremists preaching a strange doctrine. Think about that. They didn't attack soldiers. They didn't attack a church. They didn't attack a government building. They attacked ordinary villagers, Muslims, because those villagers said no to extremism. And yet, where is the global outrage? Okay, so let's look at it in this way. When violence happens and Christians are victims, we rightly speak up. When violence happens and Muslims are victims, in some other parts of the world, we rightly speak up. But when Muslims are massacred in Nigeria, suddenly the story becomes quiet, confusing, and buried. My point is not to say one group suffers more than the other. My point is, selective outrage is injustice. Let me slow this down. Some people keep saying religion is the problem. But explain this to me honestly. If Islam is the problem, why are Muslims being killed for rejecting extremists? If Islam teaches violence, why did these villagers die because they refuse violent ideology? So, who exactly are we blaming here? Extremists don't represent Islam. They don't represent Christianity. They don't represent God. They represent power, control, fear, and destruction. Religion is just the language they hijack. The worst part of it is, some Nigerians, even from this country, refuse to talk when Muslims are victims. Some international voices only speak when the story fits their narrative. That silence is not neutral. Silence sends a message that some lives matter less, and once we start ranking human lives, we have already lost our humanity. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to think, not react. If these villagers had surrendered to the extremists, would that have saved them or only delayed their death? History shows us the answer. Extremism doesn't stop at obedience. It grows until there is nothing left, and this is where it gets painful. Nigeria is bleeding, not because of religion alone, but because of poverty, corruption, weak security. Christians are dying, Muslims are dying, and instead of uniting around truth, we argue over labels. That division is exactly what extremists want. My point is simple, but uncomfortable. If you only cry when your religion is attacked, but stay silent when others are slaughtered, then you are not against violence. A Muslim and a Christian killed unjustly is a tragedy. A human life is not cheaper because of faith. There is no acceptable massacre. Some people will say, why are you talking about this? I'm talking because silence is dangerous. Because today it's Kwara State. Tomorrow it could be somewhere else. Another village, another religion. These villagers were not killed because they were Muslims. They were killed because they refused to become extremists. And if we stay silent today, we are teaching the killers that some lives are invisible. Every innocent life matters.